Okay, thank you, Eduardo. So, hi, welcome to my talk, How Functional Programming Made Me a Better Java Programmer. First, I would like to thank the organizers and everybody involved with this event. Being here means a lot to me, so thank you so much. And I hope you all like it and learn something with me today. So, okay. Um, I'm Juliana, and currently I'm a consultant developer at ThoughtWorks Brazil, and also I co-organize two communities here in my city. One of them is Femugi, that is a community of front-ends and developer circles from Facebook, that is a generalist community and has circles all around the world, so maybe there is a circle near from you. So I'm from Belo Horizonte. It's a city in southeast Brazil, as you can see here on the map. And it takes about 7 hours by car to get from here to São Paulo or Rio. I think here is like 6 hours. And those are the best known cities from Brazil. And yes, this little mascot here is Duke, Java's mascot, and I don't really know what he is, but he's cute. Okay, so here a warning. This is my first talk in English, yay! And I would like to ask you to pay attention to the content and not to my pronunciation mistakes. I'm learning it and I have put a lot of effort in it on into it, sorry. And if someone told me 1 year ago that I'd be a speaker in an international conference, in technical international conference like this, in the middle of a mundial pandemic, I'm sure that I'd be more surprised by the talk thing than the pandemic itself. Here are the main topics. I'm going to talk about my experience moving from object-oriented programming to functional and then moving back to object-oriented, and how can connect solid concepts with functional concepts, tools from Java 8 that make this job easier, and how can we handle errors about some resource that I used, and final thoughts. Okay, so about my journey with Elixir. In 2018, I started the transition from an oriented object project to functional. We were strangling a PHP legacy and rewriting it with Elixir. That was my first contact with a functional language, and I totally fell in love with it. Because I really felt like I was improving myself and as a developer, and that's my favorite kind of sensation in my job. Like feel that I am improving and making a good job. So I talked about this process of moving and strangling at ElixirConf Brazil in the last year, and what's amazing. So, but after that, I received an offer from my current job, and I started to work here. At this time, I was staffed in a project with oriented object program with Java 8, and I started to study it and try to improve my OO concepts. But then I realized that it could be possible to merge functional concepts with my ongoing project, and that's it. I started to search about it, find a lot of good reference, and that's why I'm talking with you all today. So here's the thing. It's really not about thinking that functional is better than OO concepts in all contexts, in really all the context. And now that I know functional, I can throw away all my knowledge and all my years of experience and about object-oriented programming. It's really about understanding the toolbox that I have and making more informed design choices. There's another point. When I talk about my job and say that, hi, I'm using Java, everybody reacts in two ways basically. Or they think that I'm not good enough, or they say, oh my god, how are you using Java in 2020? But it's important to understand that people have different contexts, and Java is paying my bills today. So, of course, I want to work with Elixir again because I really love the language and all I can do with it. But that to me choose a job, I have to think about a lot of topics, not about only the tech stack. And I truly believe that both functional and OO have to be used to an end, like promoting reuse, avoiding duplication, etc. They are not the end itself, you know? So, okay. But what is the importance of Java 8 to this talk? I'm not going to go into depth with Java syntax because it will take a long time because it's too verbal and the concepts behind it are too much important. And also, this is an Elixir conference, so. But Java 8 was really important because it introduced the Lambda expressions in Java. And after Java 8, it's possible to write lambdas and use metadata reference like you can see here in this slide. And also, functional interface become more important at Java 8 too. Functional interface is an interface with only one abstract method, and it really helps to use functional concepts with Java, as you can see. And there are at least 43 functional interfaces, but the most common are consumer, that consumes an object and does not return anything, a supplier that provides an object and takes no parameter, functions that takes an object and return another, sorry, and predicates that takes an object and return a boolean. With those interfaces, we can add functional behavior to Java functions and methods. So, but how can we apply functional concepts to object-oriented program and be better at it? Let's think about the principal concepts of it. We have high order functions, those that have functions in their arguments and or can return functions. We have immutability, where each function will have a stable value, and perfections, functions that are side effect free functions and always return consistent output when given the same input. Sorry. So all these to gain the final approach that it has a code-based, readable, easy to test, that decompose problems with reusability, with a good level of abstraction, etc. So um, now we are going to review some concepts from object-oriented programming instead. So those are the solid concepts that are acronyms, and each letter has a princi- principle related. Starting with S, we have the single responsibility principle. Every class or method in your program should have only a single reason to change. Lambda expressions make it a lot of easier to implement this principle at the method level because it helps to implement high order functions in order to decompose and encapsulate some behaviors. Just a second, I have to drink. So moving to the next one, we have open-closed principle. That means software entities should be open for extension but closed for modification. And in this case, it's easier to understand how functional programming could help because if the object is immutable, can't be modified after it is created. So immutable objects implement the open-closed principle in the sense that because their internal state can be modified, it's safe to add the new method to them. So here we have more three principles, starting to the least cause substitution principle. And it has this description, but basically this principle aims to enforce consistency so that parent class or its child class can be used in the same way without any errors. In functional and in object-oriented community as well is becoming accepted the composite reuse principle. So we compose, we do not inherit. Um, Talking now about the second one is the interface segregation principle. The dependence of one class to another one should depend on the smallest possible interface. So this principle encourages us to minimize the dependence on a large interface that have multiple responsibilities by moving to functional language that encourages us to do structural subtyping. So we remove the need to declare this interface. And the last one is dependency inversion principle. So high order functions provide an inversion of control, which is a form of dependency inversion. So we can easily use them with lambda expression and use this principle. So after all those concepts, it's easy to realize that the purpose of functional programming is pretty related to object-oriented programming goal, and also analyze how functional concepts can help to implement solid concepts. Okay, so here we have some tips to help you identify how we start to add functional concepts into an OO code base. You can use recursion instead of loops, but you have to pay attention if you are using Java to do not exceed the stack size for deep recursions because this is caused by a Java problem, and then we have another approach to solve this. Uh, Using immutable data can solve issues with threads because you don't have to care about possible side effects. And the last one, make your objects immutable. You can declare fields as final or only provide getters for fields, and then when necessary, and then only when it's necessary, sorry, and do not provide the setters ever. So, talking about how to handle errors, I have an interesting history. When I started to work with Java, I was pretty like this image. Let's see. Here, I had never seen so many no pointer exceptions, and I really hate to find one of them, and I think you too. So null values are a common source of bugs, and the Java's model um, does not help because it's pretend there is a null type that is the subtype of all other types in the system. A lot of types in the same phrase. But like, suppose you have a variable of the type string. Okay? If the value can be null, you could also think of the type as string or null. However, we never think in the terms like and that's why we often forgot to check for null. So the optional type can help to solve this problem because optional is explicitly indicates the potential absence of a value, so you are not going to be confused when use it. You also can use it composing with filter, map, reduce, and make the code more readable. And if you explicitly know that a value can be null, it's difficult to forget and cause a null pointer exception. So your code will be more. So okay, moving on. Sorry. Um, I would like to make this pretty clear. It's not about over engineering. Like we had a lot of tools and ways to do composition and make the code in a functional style, but it's important to make sure that it's worth the effort. Like sometimes a ternary or even an if else without side effects can do the job. So pay attention to the readability of the code because we are writing code to people and not for machines. Okay, so after study and learn all those tools, at the end of the day, there is no point in trying to apply those functional concepts if your team is not with you, unless you work alone. The chapter 2 of the book Adopting Elixir talks about team building and how we can change from another language to Elixir. But the tips also fit here, and where changing the tech stack, it's not possible to. So, to show the benefits to your team, start from a small alteration that doesn't break all your application, please. And so if you make a mistake or did not um, learn well what to do, you will not be with a huge problem or a problem like you can resolve. So make sure that this alteration has business value, like making a code more readable, easier to test, and etc. And after that, you can share about the results in a tech huddle, advocate during a pairing session, in a code review, wherever. You can choose a form to show the benefits to your team, but they will have a proof and they will believe in you. So remember, this is a continuous learning process. Uh, I don't know if you are into Dark from Netflix, but this process of thinking functionally in a complete different context from a functional project, it's pretty much like the beginning is the end and the end is the beginning. I don't feel like I am an expert at those concepts, but I know that I will take it with me regardless of the language of technology I'm working on. So I hope to work with Elixir again soon, but I know that I am applying these concepts in my daily job, so I'm happy to. And after all that talk, the conclusion is that you have to keep the good practices no matter the technology and take with you all the good points that you have learned during different experience and different contexts. This is what I love about my job, and because I'm always learning and improving myself, I'm improving how I'm doing my job and improving the client product. So I'm really happy with this. And to study, I really like to read books. I'm not much like a video person, but and to prepare this talk, I read these books and did these two courses here from Plural Site. Just a second. They are really good, and I strongly recommend it if you want to know more about functional with Java. But the functional with Java ones, okay? The other ones is just about Elixir. Um, the practical object-oriented design by Sandmet, this red one, is my reference to learn about code quality and to, of course, understand how can I be better with object-oriented design. So I strongly recommend it too. And I used the book by Ulysses, Learn Functional Programming with Elixir, to actually learn functional, and this is my favorite from this list by far. I've studied functional iOS development with Swift, and this link here for is not a link, sorry, it's just a topic. From Point Free, it has amazing content about functional programming with Swift, and if you want to or like it, check it out. But those only those books and courses and stuff are not all the resources that I use it to do this presentation. So I will post the slides and the resource later on my Twitter. And at the end, but not less important, a final advice. So if you can, try to help others. We live in a extremely uneven world, and sometimes at least one word can encourage someone to begin with technology, or I don't know, change uh, the people life. So we all have privileges, some more than others. And just to have a tech job, it's a huge, really huge one. And it's important to see that and also think how we can do something, you know? And also try to advocate for diversity in your company, community, events, etc. It's really important, and also be an ally to those people. It's more difficult for for them, and so try to keep that in mind when you give a feedback, when you talk about a technical content with uh, those persons. So keep that in mind always. And that's it. Thank you so much, and thank you, ElixirConf organizers. Those are my contacts again. I will post the resources and the slides today, as I said. And first talk in English completed. Thank you.